resource person, Mr. Amit Kurhekar. Sir is a director, data science solution, Envestnet, Yodlee, Bengaluru. Previously, Sir has been senior technology manager, advanced analytics at Procter & Gamble, India. With more than 17 years of rich experience as an applied data science leader with expertise in strategy, innovation, IoT, Industry 4.0, digital analytics, transformation, he has served under various capacities in Envestnet Yodlee, Procter & Gamble, Satyam Computers, and Aditya Birla Group. His responsibilities have been to strategize, develop, and deploy AI and analytics solution to drive analytics transformation for the organization. He has spent over a decade with Procter & Gamble, pioneered Industry 4.0 and digital transformation program for the company, and led global forums for manufacturing analytics and digital. Currently responsible for wealth data science and analytics solution at Envestnet Yodlee, he helps simplify wealth data for advisors and customers to track and improve financial performance. Over years, he has nurtured and led teams to perform at their peak and delivered more than 10 plus breakthrough innovations and have delivered value worth rupees 25 million throughout business intelligence, artificial intelligence, and digital capabilities. Heading Wealth, AI, and Analytics Solution Delivery for Envestnet Yodlee as a part of Data Analytics team, the largest financial data aggregation platform providing data enrichment to banks and financial institutions. Passionate, Sir is passionate about coaching and mentoring people and startups and have mentored 100 plus aspiring data scientists and mid-career IT experts. Investnet Yodlee Data Analytics team is recognized as top 10 data science team. We are fortunate to have you here, sir. Without further delay, I would request Amit Kurhekar, sir, to begin his deliberation.
Thank you, Viresh, for such a nice, kind introduction. Let me share my screen.
Yes, sir. Okay. It's visible now, sir.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and good evening. My name is Amit. I'm going to take you through a little bit different, since I thought there could be many aspiring data scientists, business analysts, data analysts, maybe data engineers among you. So I just thought of focusing a little bit more on how can you transform your organization? What do you need to do in terms of acquiring skill sets? And once you join a job, what could be the tasks or challenges you could face, and what are the key tips which I could share, right? And while I speak, feel free to just put in your questions so that we can address it towards the end of the session. All right, so welcome to the real world. That's how I start on this. Basically, there are several people in this group, or there might be several people who must have heard about Kaggle, some of the hackathons. They might have done capstone project. If you have not, that could be your first analytics projects while you are studying, while you are learning. Now, one of the biggest difference, what you might find, basically, whenever you are doing learning on Kaggle, learning through Kaggle, learning through capstone projects, is basically those projects are something which are totally different from real world. When you enter into a real life, what really happens is reality strikes you. One of the biggest thing which you face is having a clear problem statement definition. So what would happen is on Kaggle, if you are a Kaggler, and while I speak, if you could just type in like how many of you have done Kaggles, I'm sure there would be few, but basically, if you are doing capstone project, if you are doing Kaggle exercises, the problem statement would be in front of you. But while you are doing a real analytics in the organization, one of the biggest differences, you would have to go back and define the problem statement. You will have to define and identify what is return on investment you are going to get by doing an analytics project. You will have to find out whether the data is really available. As Kapil mentioned in his talk, uh, in consumer goods sector, the data is not, or rather, it becomes a challenge depending on your area where you are handling the data. But it's not given. The data availability could be a challenge. The evaluation matrix, sometimes it could be really confusing. For example, in case some of you are really looking forward to really optimize what should be your precision and recall. When I say precision and recall, in data science terminologies, precision says how precisely you are predicting the solution to the problem. Recall signifies what percentage of the time you are actually predicting. You are actually predicting that something is going to happen. So from that standpoint, both of these terms, sometimes you will have to trade off in between one versus other. In terms of trade-offs, when you are doing a real job, you could have to do trade-offs between cost or calculate return on investment in case the costs are extremely high. For example, the cost in terms of computing. Do you have a CPU which has 8 cores, 64 gig RAM, and are you able to run it 24/7? Or if you are deploying it on AWS, what would be your monthly cost, running cost? What's your ROI by running that algorithm? So having always some of the sexiest algorithm may not be optimal in terms of running your AI in the system and deploying that AI system. Sometimes you might face an issue in terms of latency of the problem statement. I'll give you an example. So I work with a financial institution, and it's important in most of the financial institution. It's important. Let's say you go to a bank, you actually log into your account, and the account says like, hey, here is the spending pattern for your last 3 months. So from that, if you do not get that good experience every time, your spending pattern, where was your last spend, if you are not getting that, obviously you would not be happy. So that latency is important over here. So the data, you have to fetch that data, you have to calculate those responses, you have to demonstrate that data in a visual manner on the dashboard of your banking app or banking web page. Scalability, so the algorithm or data set which you have developed, is it really scalable whenever you are deploying to a larger audience? What are the kinds of problems you would face when you actually scale up and roll it out? Can you really have 1,000 users logging on to your website and be still able, you would be still able to predict what's your recommendations for watching a particular movie? Imagine Netflix. On Netflix, whenever you are browsing, uh, and you would get recommendations in the bottom, like you might also want to watch. Now, what if there are 1,000 concurrent users and you are not getting those recommendations, or it is coming one by one? So whole of that experience piece is extremely important. So when it comes to Kaggle versus real life, you will have to deal with these challenges. So I'm going deeper into what are the challenges which you are going to face when you are actually working on a job, right? This is another chart. I found it really interesting. And my suggestion, whenever you are actually working on data and analytics problem, always fall in love with the problem. I'll take a pause. In terms of when I say fall in love with the problem, it's basically understand the problem. We, as a human, we have a tendency. We tend to fall in love with the solution rather than problem. So for example, if there are some bright data scientists among you, they would tend to go deeper into some of the latest and greatest deep learning algorithm. Now, imagine you are actually handling some amount of data in a banking or financial institution. And what you want to do is, let's say, calculate net worth of each user, which could mean sum of all the accounts, uh, and some of the credit card spending, deduct the credit card spending and display it on the screen. Do you really need data science and AI? Probably no. You just need rules engine behind that. So having a data plus business intelligence tool would be just good enough to solve that kind of problem. So do not rush behind a tool or latest and greatest algorithm. Focus on what kind of problem you want to solve, and then try to find out what is the right kind of architecture algorithm behind it. So for example, if you just want to demonstrate with the help of data, so let's look at covid is a real use case. The data is available in plenty. What will you do to do some of the exploratory data analysis? For that exploratory data analysis, you probably just need data. You just need another business intelligence tool, which could be Tableau, Spotfire, Power BI, to start with, to do some of the drill down, exploratory data analysis, understand, recommend what's going to happen, what is really happening, and recommend some action out of it. So think about what is your problem, what do you really want to do, and then take a tool. That's the key takeaway from this slide. Now coming to really, like, we've been talking a lot on data science, AI. One of the biggest thing is, like, people might be wondering, like, okay, what's in it for me? What do I really do in terms of data and analytics? What are the kinds of role which could be possibly available to me? So I've just listed few over here. You could be a data scientist, you could be a business analyst, you could be a data analyst, RPA, data and cyber security. So cyber security, by the way, is one of the hottest field which is coming up. You could also be a solution architect if you know what a data scientist or data engineer and the end customer wants, and then you could be a solution architect. Um, you could also be a data engineer if you are from the engineering background, in a sense that you know to how to handle databases and all. So there are various roles which are available. Now where do you land up? It would be based on your skills and the company to which you are applying. That's extremely important. In terms of skills, these are some of the hottest skills which I thought could be very useful for you to focus on. For example, visualization. How do I calculate return on investment? The data architecture, Python being one of the most prominently used programming language. NoSQL databases, NLP, vision systems, ML ops. These are the key technical skills which you could acquire or think of acquiring, along with also don't miss out on cloud. These are some of the latest technologies which you should think of learning and acquiring going forward. Now, what really happens when you actually get onto a problem statement? You have a problem statement, you have joined an organization, or you plan to solve a particular problem. How do you approach that? And this is my experience. Based on this, based on my experience while working at earlier organization, current organization, what I would recommend is form a team which is really effective team. You should have data scientists, of course. That could be you, or you could be a data engineer. You should have your ally as domain expert. You should also have a customer. So forming a quad team, that would help you to actually understand the problem, define the problem statement, and move ahead with a team. Having a siloed project approach, that would be really tough for you to succeed in this role. So think of always actually getting allies in your project and delivering a project. When I'm talking about analytics, AI, one of the most important aspect what people forget is um, developing the capability of the individual. So I have picture of sprinters in front of you. So imagine a sprint. You are doing 100-meter race, and the best record might be just few seconds. But for that few seconds, the sprinter, they actually practice for 8 to 10 hours a day. Imagine if you have to deliver some latest state-of-the-art analytics or AI and machine learning algorithm. If you have to do that, what do you need to do with your organization? You have to get your organization ready. You have to train them. You have to enable them. So organizational readiness, put it at a really high priority in terms of, so which could mean that you train yourself, you train your peers who are your end customers, you train your department heads, which is upward coaching, coach them that this is how you actually develop data science. This is how you deploy data science. So coach them, and there is technical readiness. Of course, the database, you should have data science or the data available. Once you have digital efforts, the data would be captured. But essentially, you should focus on enabling around people who are around you to actually develop their readiness. These are some of the tips. Of course, I've emphasized on quad. So forming an high performing team, that's one of the most important factor. Start small, which is early success. Always focus on starting very small in a measurable way so that you can demonstrate your success. Never take up too large project in the start of your career, which is larger than life. Starts very small, which will build your confidence, demonstrate your success. Leverage external enterprise expertise and your peer network. Some of you might be really good at what you do, so leverage your peer network always. Undersell and over deliver. In a corporate environment, whatever you promise, you have to deliver. So whatever you are promising, be extremely cognizant of that and make sure you deliver that. Identify, and that's last, but basically identify, if you do not still have a mentor or a coach, make sure you have one. And once you join an organization, make sure you have a sponsor, which can be earned by demonstrating an early success, which you can do that. So these are some of the tips and tricks of the game. I just wanted to share, and because of paucity of time, I just had some thoughts around like how do you really enable, deploy AI, and what are the keys to success in terms of deploying and developing AI. So you can feel free to follow me or connect me on LinkedIn. Any questions? I'm open, or we can take it at the end of the sessions.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really insightful. And we'll take the question answer session at the end.